Hey guys, this is your Just One Guy, and this is my tutorial series, Unity for Noobs. Now I know I haven't made a video in a while, and that's because I updated Unity and it erased a lot of my game data, and I spent like the last 2 weeks basically rewriting all the code and everything. But in this video, basically Unity has updated their system. They updated and changed their online to make it a lot easier, and I wanted to start making tutorials about that, and I'm learning how to use the system now so I can put up tutorial videos. But before that, I meant to go over this a while ago, but I never got a chance to. I want to go over how online works in Unity, because it works a little differently than you would expect. And when I first started using this, I couldn't really understand the concept, and it messed me up a lot, because if you don't really understand this, you don't really know how to program for it, because you wouldn't expect it to work this way. Now, some of you probably know how it works already, but just from playing an online game, I really didn't expect it to work like this, which is why I'm making this video. Now today we're going to go over how online works in general in Unity. Now first, we got a little ahead of ourselves here. Let's put this one up. This is how I always thought it would work, and I assume like a normal person would think it works. You have say you're on a first person shooter and you're playing a multiplayer game. I would think you had the other player, and you had another player, and you were all connecting to one game, and you were playing inside this game. But that isn't how it works. And it actually works vastly different from that. And if you tried to program it based on doing it this way, you would come out with a lot of errors and a lot of things that just go horribly wrong, and it would take you days on end to figure out the problems. Now we're going to how it really works. Now it's important to note that you have a game. Well, say you're on a first person shooter and you're connected. First, what's going to happen is you're just going to dial out to Unity's master server. And they changed this a little bit in Unity 5. I believe you still do this, but it's kind of a background function now. You don't really have to program this part in anymore. But basically what happens is you dial out to a master server, and the master server just finds the game and connects you to it, and that's all it does. After that, you really have no dealing with the master server. You're just connected. Now what we have is a server and a client. Now the server is always the first person who started the game. You can see I put it up here, and that's the server, that's the person running the game. And then we have the client, and this is the person connected onto the game. Now what the master server allows you to do is allow the client to connect to the server without knowing the IP address. Because ordinarily, if you didn't have this master server here, you could still connect to this game, but you would have to know the IP address and I believe the port of this game. And what the master server do, it just takes that, so it just takes you and automatically connects you, and you don't need to know the IP address or anything. But the important thing about this is, what I'm trying to explain is, if you're programming for it, what really happens is, instead of the first example, it's always two separate worlds. The client is just connecting to this game and getting information from the server, and likewise the server is just getting the information from the client, but it's always two separate games. Now when they connect, okay, you have the first person who's going to start the game, which is the server. He's going to create this player right here, and then when the client connects, he's going to create this player right here that's still in this world. He's not going to connect. You're not going to share a world. The worlds are never shared. They're always separate, and that's important to know when you're programming online, because you would think if you created a player in this world, that all the animations and the transforms and the positions will automatically be synced up, but that's not true, because you're in separate worlds. Now what happens is, the server is going to start the world. He's going to create this player, and then the client is going to connect to the server, and he's going to create this player in this world, and then the server is going to create one player for the server in his world, in the client's world, and then the client is going to create one player for himself in the client's world. And that's what happens. It's always two separate games, just sharing small amounts of data. Now you might ask, if it's always two separate worlds, how do you move a player around? Now if this is the server in this world, and this is the client in this world, and this is the server in this world, and this is the client in this world, this client is just moving this player through a set of small variables. Like say I wanted to move this player forward. Now what's going to happen is, I'm going to move this player first, and then I'm going to send an RPC over the network that tells this player how far to move forward. And I'm never directly controlling him. I'm just I'm just telling him, I'm giving him bits of information so he works off of. Now, to make this system work, these players largely are just reacting to things. All these players are just reacting to things. Now, this is just to give a max amount of control, because you never want to have direct control, because that would send too much data over the network. That, like, if you tried to sync all the animations up and you tried to sync every last position, it would be way too much data to send over the network, and you would slow down the signal, and that's how you would get lag. So you never want to do that. Instead, you want to say, hey, this is gonna be the client in this world. He's gonna say, hey, I'm moving forward, and then he's gonna send a variable that say about move forward four numbers, and he's gonna basically move forward 4 spaces, and he's gonna move forward 4 spaces, and the animation is just reacting to the information given it to it, and that's it. And likewise with the client and server in this world. Now, in Unity 5, I believe they changed this, but before they used to have something called a authoritative server, and then there was another type that I can't remember right now. It was basically one stopped the player from cheating, and the other one just gave the player more control. The players more control. But you don't have to worry about that in Unity 5 because they changed it up. Basically, it's all the same now, and you don't have control over that anymore anyway. Because before, you would have to dial out to the master server, and in an authoritative server, this client would always ask the server. Would always ask this server right here what was happening, and then it would send it back. Like he would say, I want to move forward, and then he would ask the server, can I move forward? And then the server would go back and say, yes, you can move forward, if you can move forward. But now Unity doesn't let you have that type of control anymore. They do it all for you, and it's a nice system overall. I got to get used to it, but it's a nice system, but it gives you a lot less control. I guess people didn't like programming networking code. And I just wanted to go over this because in the beginning, when I was learning how to how to do network code in Unity, it was really hard because I couldn't understand these concepts. And Unity never directly tells you this. It just it tells you how. It doesn't really tell you directly how it works. And I just wanted to go over that. Now let's see a real world example on what I mean about that. Now this is using Unity's new system, and it's important to note that all this was done without any programming. Before, I would have had to spend days setting up the network and everything like that, and writing the scripts and all that stuff. But all this is done now with no programming. It's just done with components. First, we're going to set the host. Then we're going to set this one up as the client. And it created 3 players in one world, but that's not what's important right now. Now, as you can see, I've already connected to the network. Now, before, this would have took a lot of code, but now Unity just does it in the background for you automatically, which is a lot easier. Now, I'm moving around the player, and the first thing you can see is the first problem most people run into. All the players are moving when I move that. Not the players in the second world. We're not going to worry about that right now. We're just worried about this. Now, as you can see, when I press over, all the players are moving. Now, you might say, why is that happening? That's happening because we're using an input class. We're just putting in an input, and each one of these players have the third-party person controller script. So we're not directing which player we want to input the commands to. So it's just inputting them into all. And that's solved with a simple solution. In Unity 4.6 and lower, it was is the network mine, and that would just ask what's the network yours, and then if the network was yours, you want to put in the input commands. In the new Unity 5, I believe they changed it to something else. It's is player or something like that. You would have to look it up, but I can't remember off the top of my head. But that's how you solve that problem, and that'll be the first one. Now, later on, I'm going to make a bunch of tutorials on Unity 5's new online system. I just wanted to go over this real quick, just so we all have a basic knowledge on what's going on, and we don't get confused when I go over it. And the second problem is, well, I basically solved this, but when you move around, you can see that the animations aren't transferring to this player. I'm just moving him around, and the camera is not following separate players as it should be. Now you can see when I jump, it jumps. That's because of Unity's new Unity 5 system, which it has a component to sync up animations, but I'm not sure if it works correctly or anything like that. But here's something else. When I jump, it's not doing it because I set it up. But as I was going over before, it's two separate worlds, and you're just sending a small amount of data. Him right here and him right here are two separate players. This is not the same world. This is the client's world and this is the player's world. And you can see how it's not synced, and that's the reason why. And that's just a real world example of what you have to deal with in programming, and why it's important to know that they're two separate worlds instead of a shared world, how you would expect it to be, or at least how I expected it to be. And if you like this video, please like and subscribe. And if you want to suggest a tutorial, please suggest a tutorial in the comments down below. Thank you for watching.